Now this is Hollywood Unlocked. What up, everybody? It's Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. I'm Jason Lee.
Yeah, it was DJ Damas to get the show started.
All right, and Melissa is still out, so we're sending our love to her. But we have a special guest here who we've been talking about on our show a couple of times, and she pulls no punches, which is what I love. Amanda Seales.
She's here.
You know,
Hi,
I didn't know whether to say comedian, actress, director, writer, TV personality, poet, singer, rapper, provocateur, social media maven. Like, I don't even know. But
I always lead with comedian because it's the comedy that keeps me sane.
Okay. So I know we've never met, which is kind of weird, but you don't really be out in the Hollywood scene, right? You're not that person.
No.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I know, yet you're like enthralled in it all over the place.
You know, Jason, that is not by design. It's a side effect. It's really just a side effect of just doing good work. At first, it was just like I was afforded the opportunity to have like spaces to do good work. Like I did my special, and I'm on Insecure, and then my podcast, Small Doses, started getting traction, and then Smart, Funny, and Black, and so it's just like in the best sense, there's a meritocracy that like by doing good work, more people know about you. So that ends up happening, but then you feel like you gotta like be in the mix in order to like do more good work, and that's where they get you.
So, but you're born and raised in Los Angeles, right? So you're from You're from Inglewood.
So I was born in Inglewood. I grew up in the Valley until I was 8. Then I moved to Orlando until I was 18. And then I was in New York until 2015. So I went to school, undergrad at SUNY Purchase and graduate at Columbia in New York. And then I was really just doing hosting. I was doing music. Then I changed gears. I had a whole other name, Amanda Diva. So, I was on MTV. I was on Sirius Satellite Radio. And then 2011, I was just like insane, and I went to my actual given name, Amanda Seales, and I started venturing into comedy. I did some one-woman shows that really gained some traction. Like one of them I even got to do at the Kennedy Center last year, Mo Better Woo, where I took Wu-Tang records and turned them into jazz, and I performed them as this crazy character named Kalandra Beat. But that's another conversation. And then I moved to LA in 2015. Once I really got into comedy is really where I found my tribe, and where I really realized like, oh, like it's not that you're a misanthrope and it's not that you're mean. You're just a comic. Okay, got it. And so that's where I've been ever since. And then when I moved to LA, I just kind of realized that like I had done a lot of work that was valuable to me, but that didn't elevate my market value in the market space. And so I had to make a conscious decision of like, well, if you're trying to really continue to expand your voice and your artistry, like you got to do better work. Like you got to involve yourself in stuff that actually has substance and meat to it. And so I stopped doing like hosting auditions, and I started focusing more on doing acting auditions and just focus on my stand-up. And then over the past few years, it's just developed into kind of this visibility that I feel is a gift and a curse.
Well, that's interesting because that's where I am now. Like everybody knows the Hollywood Unlocked, they know the podcast, they know all that. But now I'm getting to the work that I did before when I worked in the labor union. So I totally understand that. I want to get to that. But knowing more about you, out of everything that you're doing, why did you choose comedy? Like comedy, because when I think of Amanda Seales, I don't think of comedy at first, right? I think activist. You're very controversial in the sense that good controversial, not like
thanks.
Because being controversial is okay.
My mom just laughed at that.
Well, being controversial is okay though, because sometimes when you just don't agree, you're controversial. When you have an opinion, you're controversial. And when you're Black and you say anything, you're controversial, right? So like, I get that.
And there's a difference between being controversial and contrary. Like, I don't just disagree with shit just to disagree. You know, like I have a reason and it's a valid reason. And if you disagree with my reason, then, welcome. But I think some people are controversial because they want attention. So they're just being contrarians just to get attention or just to shake something up. And I'm not trying to shake shit up. I'm trying to shake shit down. So I'm not going to say something unless it's going to be for the intention of feeling like this needs to be called out to dismantle it for the purpose of justice or of goodness.
Now, you talked about comedy choosing you. I know Jason asked, how did you get in comedy? When did you feel like you were chosen?
See, that's the thing. It's like, if you talk to anybody that's in, these places like that are in front of people, right? So
Hmm.
musicians, preachers, even teachers, right? Like it's like there was always something about them that leaned in this direction, but it took a little bit of time for some folks to actually be able to put the two and two together. Like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was always a funny person. Now I'm intense, but I'm a funny person. Like I'm always trying to find the jokes and find the funny. And since I was a kid, like, it was like, oh man's show them the thing, dance that, and it's like, and it's me demonstrating some skit that I made up in the living room. So like that's always been in the mix. But when I say comedy chose me, it was like I came to a point where I realized that my all these different points of interest that I had really worked to cultivate, whether it be like hosting or writing or music, etc. Like the only place that they felt like they really converged was under the umbrella of comedy.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, once I was a comic, it was like, well, you host, right? And you write, right? And you know about these other things, right? Whereas without comedy, it was like, so I don't understand. You host, you write, you do music. Like, this doesn't make sense. So it just became this thread that tied things together and made what I do more palatable for others, and to be honest, more clear for me.
Made it digestible.
So now,
Yeah.
so in terms of your activism, this is what I've always been. I find you very interesting, right? Like I sit back on my Instagram and I peruse social media, and I'm really like an internet whore. Like I just love what the fuck is going on. Although I don't care really, I just want to know.
But
Um, so let me ask you, does your activism come from a place of being educated on how we got to where we are, which we're going to get into later with the Civil War going on outside, or having gone through it, right? Like I just wrote my first book where I
you
really,
better write a book.
oh
You
baby,
better write a.
let me
Let
tell
me
you
see
something.
this.
Let me tell you something.
Yes,
As a matter of fact, I'm going to get you a copy too.
that's an author. Well, while we're talking about books, you can get my book, Small Doses.
I know.
It's now available.
I know I want to get into that because the potent truths for every day. Like I need to like I just had a Iyama on the show where I was telling her that her book. Look, y'all about to start pulling out stuff.
Ah,
I got a brush.
listen,
You know,
I
you
feel
black
like
when
I
you just got an elephant sitting on your.
I love that. I love that there is an African and carved elephant.
But in interviewing Iyanla, I was saying to her book, Until Today, which was an everyday kind of affirmation book, really got me through my life after my brother was murdered. And it was one of the things I think really helped me like piece together, like looking optimistic every day instead of seeing the world falling apart. But does your activism come from a place of education, or experience, or both?
Absolutely both. Absolutely both. I mean, one thing about being a comic is that you're hyper aware. And I think for a lot of comics, they would agree that finding comedy became this element of therapy for them because they had a place to apply their awareness. They had an actual like stage and a craft upon which they could filter this hyper awareness that they have without letting it just completely always go inside.
Mm.
So that being said, like my experience, I mean, I've always been a hyper aware person, like don't think that I missed that you just put up a brush like that. We didn't get to laugh because I was focused on something else, but I love that you had the brush present so you can make sure that
Oh, let me tell you something. That brush is everything. That brush is
right.
everything.
So there's that, but then there's the education. And I went to two schools, and I was very fortunate to be able to curate my education for college. And I think a lot of students just don't trust themselves enough to do that, and they just kind of go along with the flow. But I really
Yeah.
tell people like curate your experience the best that you can, because when you get out of there, it's every man for themselves. And what you learn in that safe space, well, as safe as we try to make it, what you learn in there, they can never take away from you. So you want to try and make sure that you get everything that you can. So I say all that to say that I was able to curate an education of Black intellectualism
Mm.
and the arts, both in undergrad, because I created my own major in undergrad after I left the acting conservatory. And then I went to Columbia for African American studies. And my professors just understood me, yo. And that's the biggest blessing. Like having educators that understand you. Like my first day of class, Manny Marable, rest in peace, he walked in with his Frederick Douglass haircut and was like, "Do y'all want hip hop to die?" And we were like, "Oh my God, okay, all right, we're in the right place. We're in the right place." Um, and so my education has always been aligned with my experiences, sometimes in ways that I didn't realize, and sometimes in ways that I curated. I mean, he literally one day we were in class and he was like, "Look across the street. What do you see?" And we were all like, "Buildings." He's like, "No, you see projects." He's like, "We're at Columbia University, and that's the projects right there. This street right here is the widest street in New York City because for them to be right there but not have access to us here, that's what we're trying to close the gap on."
Mm.
And that's education meeting experience. And I feel like that's what drives everything I do.
So when I heard that you were the latest addition to the Real, I had been to the Real one time. I haven't been invited back, which
No
is
segue, by the way, y'all. You heard that? No segue. Just like,
no.
and here we
Oh,
are.
And scene.
let me tell you something. This is a cutaway show if I've ever seen one. We cut straight to just cut straight to it, right? Um, I was on the Real one time, and I've been on Wendy several times, and I've been on different shows. And the thing about the Real that stood out for me was the reaction to how blunt I was about what I was there to talk about. And it was almost like, when I'm on Wendy, like I could see the vibe,
Well,
like
who was reacting? The guests or, I mean,
no,
the
no, no,
host?
no.
Or,
The guests were there for me. The guests were like,
oh,
yes, 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 yes. I think Adrian was definitely there for me, but I can tell like I was because I am so off the cuff and very like you don't even know unpredictable is the word and honest that it really makes people uncomfortable. And I just felt like it was different. But anyway, I wasn't invited back, and that's fine. Whatever. Now, when you got the job, I was like, "She what? This ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work because you are you're not you don't give me that you have the Hollywood what's that thing
With
when
the
they
cookie
wind
cutter
no
kind
no
of.
no no you know how when they wind a puppet that was that thing in the back where you wind it up
the gear, like,
you don't seem to be the person that like the Hollywood could kind of like twist your thing and say, okay, now go out there and do your thing. And I think Tamar was very much similar like that. I didn't think you were gonna work. I was praying for you. Did you think when you got the job that they were really gonna embrace you being as woke
Mm.
as you were?
when you say they, who do you mean?
Well, the network, the production company, unless it was the host. Was it your co-host? I don't know.
No. Um, because when you say they, it ends up being bigger than I think a lot of us ever really think about. Like there's a whole audience that's accustomed to a certain kind of content and a certain format, so you got to contend with that. You do have your co-hosts, then you have the actual, like, the crew, right? So that's your showrunner and your producers and all that, and then there's the network. So there's a lot of facets at work, right? And then there's also like your own people, right? Like, and are they hitting you up like, "Yo, you screwing up, like, what are you doing?" um and so that's something like when you're in these spaces, like a lot of times you can kind of mm, just overshoot like your own security into spaces that you don't really know. So like for me, I had been a guest on the Reel several times, and I just had such a great time, and it felt like a really safe space, and it felt like when I was there, like they understood my voice, and that I was going to have the opportunity to just be my honest self. And I'm listen, I don't run from an adventure, so it was like I've never even had a job that happens every day, you
Yeah.
know. So it was like, oh, okay. And I was going through a time where I was feeling very unsettled, and it just I welcomed the opportunity to be going somewhere every day where I would have my own space, right? I'd have my own dressing room, and I'd have my team, like my glam squad that I love, and I would have a certain level of regimen. And I also welcomed just the opportunity to be able to be on a platform speaking honestly, and I really honestly I oftentimes are in isolated spaces. So it was like, oh, like I get to be with other women, where we can share ideas and, not necessarily.
But Lonnie dates a white man, and Tamara has a white husband who treats her like a house Negro. So, like, did you really feel like you were going to connect with him as a black woman?
I don't know how Tamara's husband treats her. And, whether Lonnie dates a white man or not, that's none of my business. What I did respect, though, was that they respected me every time I had been there prior. So
That's what I
there
was
was
going
no
to
reason
ask.
for me to consider that to be any different.
Did you?
And for what it's worth, I think a lot of people also don't understand that, like, we work in these spaces as coworkers, and you don't always get along at every moment, at every time with your coworkers. Like, there's going to be distractions, there's going to be disagreements, like there's going to be also just like the learning curve of each other. So I'm not going to say that every day was roses, but I will say that I think it's very important that when we bring new people into new spaces, that we make everybody feel safe,
So,
and that's up to the production company and the network.
so Lunel was on my show recently, and she basically said Lonnie's a bully. I'm gonna just get straight to who would you say was the person that, because I really don't know the veil behind the show, behind the veil. I just know the show, right? And I know the optics of what people say. Was Lonnie supportive? Was Jeannie supportive? Adrian, like, was it a clash between the hosts, or what was it specifically?
Well, one thing I want you to know is that I'm not a gossip. So I don't come
Man,
here and talk shit
takes
about nobody.
takes me out the equation.
That's not my bag. I don't get a bag doing it. So there's no reason for me to do it. It doesn't elevate anybody. What I will say is that I am not interested in keeping the secrets of the sinister. So you'll never have to worry about me not talking about shit that need to get talked about.
Okay,
As far as my co-hosts go, you know, everybody approached me in their best of intentions.
Hmm.
And I will always say that. Everybody approached me with the best of intentions. And I think that that comes at different levels for different people. Like someone like Adrian, like listen, I've known Adrian since hold on. I've known Adrian since 2009. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? So it's like we have a different relationship than someone like me and Jeannie who like just met, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And someone like me and Lonnie, we sorry, I'm trying to
Well,
multitask.
yeah, and Adrian has been a big supporter of Hollywood Unlocked. She's actually the reason I think why I got on the show. And when I posted today, well, I didn't post it, but when my team posted your video where you had talked about leaving, she liked it. So clearly she still supports you. And I'm not asking to gossip like who they're all sleeping with. I don't care.
Like
But there was that.
I'm gonna be on live with Lonnie in a couple minutes, like after this. Like
Well, I'm gonna be there
Tamara
watching it with popcorn.
Tamara is sending me 5 bottles of sister wine so that I can give them to my team for launching SFB Society. Jeannie actually called me while I was doing my small doses forum. Y'all, like, I get a bad rap because people like to say things like, oh, her co-hosts don't like her and people don't like her. No one ever asked me, do I like the people I'm working with? That's what's
Hmm.
always funny.
What, excuse
Oh,
me.
didn't you?
No. Excuse me. I was gonna
No, you
ask
asked,
you. I was
well,
gonna
what's gonna,
ask you. I was
yeah.
gonna ask you. Well, I was gonna. Girl, I got to get there. I can't do it at the top of the show.
Well, I will say this. Up until this point, people never ask me that. They create all these narratives around me because they look at me as someone like, well, who would like her? She's too honest, or she's not going to let me get away with my bullshit, or she's loud, et cetera, et cetera. On the flip side, I get so many folks who are like, yo, thank you for making me feel secure in being honest. Thank you for making me feel strong in being vocal. Thank you for making me feel powerful in being pure. And I'm in a town that is built on values that I don't live by. So I'm always going to end up in scuffles with different folks in different places, whether it's coworkers or people in management or across the board, because when you come from, like, when you're dealing with people who literally are doing things based on simply just fame and money, and
Yeah.
those things
Or
are not
or
And
power.
that's what I was going to ask you.
Or power. Right. Or power.
fame, money,
Do-
and power. Like those things don't drive me. They don't. And it's so, and like you literally, I see people like, she got fired. And I'm like, first of all, y'all ain't nobody to lie to. Like, if I got fired, you would hear me making an uproar about, can you believe these crackers fired me? Like,
Do
that's
you
what
think?
you would be hearing.
Do you think it's just the culture of entertainment overall? Like what?
Yes.
what it stands on? You feel like you just don't, I guess, blend with the culture of entertainment, traditional entertainment in the corporate sense?
Yep.
Mm.
I make, with my best efforts, I make work that serves me creatively and serves the people with social change. That's like always the two endpoints that I come into. And, you know, when you're moving with that intention, you bump up against a lot of folks in this space because they're not. And in the there's beautiful times where it aligns, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's beautiful times where, like when I did Bring the Funny on NBC, like that was one of the best working experiences I've ever had, because even though it's just like, okay, it's a funny show, like it's not deep, it's not, like we're changing, we're moving the needle on activism, but I was treated there with respect and with appreciation by everybody from the staff, like from everyone from the PAs to the head of NBC Studios. And my voice was considered, right? Like it wasn't like, oh, you're a talent, like we'll let you know what to do. It was like, no, we brought you here because you've proven yourself in a certain way, so let's honor that. And I think for a lot of us, we are in this business and we don't even think that we have the right to demand that.
Mm.
No, I love that. And when you were talking about the misconception earlier, that the educator was talking to you about, or the way you phrased that, I was thinking, because I was trying to find a way and where to ask you what the biggest misperception of you is, and I think you kind of already spoken to it, because I know one of the things when you come up around here, I see all the comments, right? Because I don't post anything on Instagram, but I do go through the comments because, like I said, I'm a social media whore, right? And I see like you have a lot of support, and I do see a lot of criticism, but I also get it because I got the same thing.
Mm.
And so my question around the host stuff wasn't really to get you to bash them, because I really don't care about that. I remember that extra interview that you guys did when you first came on. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? And I look at people and I look at behavior. And I remember, like, I was watching you, you were clearly feeling a certain way about what was being said, or how she was saying it, because I do feel like words have power and you can kind of like paint a picture without really blatantly saying anything, right? But I saw Jeannie grab your hand. I saw Lonnie grab your hand. I was like, if that ain't a support group right there, I don't know what the hell that is.
Because
But
they're like, oh shit, oh man, they
but
gon' go.
but it's the grabbing of the hand thing that made me say, is she going to really have the freedom
Mm.
to be her?
So I hear you, because
Because
I'm looking
because
at
I
it
should.
like, are they grabbing my hand to calm me down?
I'm looking at it like, why grab your hand at all? Like, maybe in their heads, it's we're gonna support you by grabbing your hand, but not, because like you can speak and stand for yourself. You ain't have no problem saying whatever you feel or think. I didn't know if it was them grabbing your hand to say it's gonna be okay, don't say nothing, or I'm just rubbing your hand because I'm supporting you, or what that was. I didn't know what that was. That's why I'm saying it.
Only they can say what it was. I know what I felt in that moment was like, girl, I know that this broad is wilding right now. Don't think you're the only one thinking it. And sometimes you just need to feel seen to know how you want to handle it. And so in that moment, I felt seen. I felt like both of them were letting me know, like, you're not crazy, she's bugging. You're not crazy, she's bugging. And for what it's worth, I ask that all the time, like, am I bugging? Am I bugging? And so it was a silent way of like, you not bugging, but she got to get bugged on though. So that's how I took it.
So the last question, because really I didn't want to talk to you today about the real, but of course you're trending right now because of the conversation earlier. When you go to the Breakfast Club, and hopefully here you feel like I can let my hair down, I can say whatever I want, I feel at home. I love the Breakfast Club, one of my favorite shows to go on. Um, did you feel that way there? And if the answer is no, you broke down the different layers of who has the crew, the audience, the network, the producers, and your co-hosts. Where was the broken
Mm.
chain in all of that for you?
The leadership.
Wow.
Leadership.
Okay.
And that was a lesson I learned. And I think for anybody who's watching, who's a talent and who is, working in the space, a lot of times we are only considering the people that we're going to be on camera with. And we don't necessarily vet like the production company or the network or the actual showrunner. We don't vet these things. We kind of just feel like, we'll figure that out. But these are the people who are actually going to be, choosing the content that you're doing, and they're going to be the ones walking you through the steps every day. And they're the ones who are talking about the projection of the show and where it goes, which means you and where you go, and how things are set
Yeah.
up around you. So you have to do your due diligence in that space. And I I didn't. And I think that the leadership there, again, for the most part, I will always say, like, people have the best of intentions. But I think that what we really realize, especially with what's going on in this nation, is white people waking up to understanding the limitations to their abilities and understanding that no, you don't know everything. No, you're not the best at everything. And there is a lot that you have not been privy to simply by just ignoring it. And once you have that
Hello.
awareness, you have to fill in those spaces with people who have been privy to that. So, I was on a show that on its core base is, okay, these are the diverse women that are talking about things and keeping it real to a diverse audience. In reality, it's being run by a white woman who doesn't have the connection to that experience, and our topics are being picked by someone who doesn't. And our
Mm.
chat is produced by a white man, who, even if he has the best of intentions, he has a disconnect by simply his experience in the world from what we're going to be addressing. And then we have executives on the way up who are all white women, and again, they have the best of intentions for their company and for their
Just not the
network,
culture.
but not necessarily for my culture. How could they?
Hmm.
They're not connected to this, which is why representation is so important, which is why having Black folks and people of all colors are necessary in these executive positions. And oftentimes we have executive positions where they've only made room for one VP. They've only made room for one executive producer. Well, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
but sometimes you're going to need to vary that, because you're going to need to vary the perspective so that there's not one person of power that's making these decisions who doesn't have enough of an understanding of the limitations of their vantage point. So there's that, and
Well,
then
but
there's the audience, right? The audience got accustomed to a whole specific type of content, and
Hmm.
that's out of my control. Um, when I was brought in, I felt like I was coming into a space where, like, my voice was going to be welcomed by the staff, and by the producers and by the network. And I think and when I say leadership, it's because if you're gonna upset the apple cart, like, you gotta brace it.
and you got to brace it and embrace it, right?
And so you got, like, if you're gonna build a new, if you're gonna level up, you got to put buttresses in place. Okay. Like, you can't just add a new floor on a building just like that. Like, you're going to probably have to put new stilts. You're going to have to support it. So that comes in a number of different ways. You're going to have to support the people who've already been there. You're going to have to support the person who's coming in, and you're going to have to support the audience who's been expecting something. And that happens through thoughtfulness and planning and foresight. And when those things are lacking, people feel betrayed. So a lot of the audience just felt like they were betrayed, because who is this new broad? She's changing our content. She's talking about race every day. And they took that out on me in really painful ways, like really painful ways.
But how crazy? But how crazy is it now?
Hmm.
All we're talking about every
Hello.
motherfucking day is race. Hello, right?
What's the
So,
name of my special? What's the name of my
Can
special?
we talk?
I be knowing.
okay, so but this goes back to like the whole conversation I've had about ownership, right? Like when I first wanted to get in the game, I was like, do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? I've had development deals, this deal, that deal, whatever. The last one I had was, we love everything you do, but we may want to change the name. Yeah, it's because you want to own
Yeah.
it. Bitch, I own Hollywood Unlocked. You would have to license it. I would own it. I'd be EPing it. I would be hosting it. I'd be in every room. So and I've always felt like the industry's not ready for that because I don't believe in
Don't
tokenism.
believe that lie. Don't believe that
Wait,
lie.
no, no, no,
Because they had no problem with Louis C.K. doing it. Carry on.
okay, but I'm
Hmm.
saying for a person of color, I may
Oh,
not
yeah.
be the blackest man, but I'm a black man, right? And so I've always been big on ownership, right? Um, you have your podcast, your book, all of which is yours. You own, operate, brand, control. Don't you now? I mean, don't you believe like until we start really focusing on building our own tables, like we can't even like look at the seats that are open because we know that they're open for people who are going to come in and just fill like a check a box off, right? Do you feel that?
I feel like yes, but I feel like that's not, it's not a full stop. Not everybody is a leader. Not everybody is
Hmm.
self-motivated. Not everybody is a creative and a self-starter. So, there's a lot of people I know who fantasize about ownership but can't run shit.
Yeah.
That they got to know that limitation. Just same way that I had to learn the limitation that I can't work for nobody but me. And and the only way for me to do that is to work in partnership, right? And to
Facts,
be
Yeah.
able
facts.
to work in partnership where we are both seeing eye to eye and there's an understanding and a respect there. And it's taken a long time for me to admit that to myself because of exactly what you said.
Hmm.
We are so often made to feel like that's preposterous. How dare you own your own? No, you can't. Come on. You need us. You need us. When in actuality, all you need is the people.
Facts, facts.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. I
That's it.
lied. One more question about the show. When you were sitting next to Jeannie, did you say what you mean? You like a white man with a little dark, with a little, what'd she say? A little black man on the side
I
or
had
something?
never I had never heard of her saying that until the day that she announced that she was engaged to Jeezy.
Didn't you want to turn around to her and hand her a textbook from that master's African American Studies class? Because I love Jeannie, like she's so sweet, right? And I've seen her and Jeezy together. Clearly, they really love each other. But I think the people just are not even aware. I don't know.
Well, that's I talk about what's going on right now in like there's three phases. There's the people who are already here. There's the people who have no business being here, and there's the people who are finding out that here even exists.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And there's just like there's an eruption of consciousness happening right now, and it's a beautiful thing. But
I like that. I'm
An
writing that down.
eruption
I'm
of
gonna steal that.
consciousness.
just
Eruption.
make me think of Amanda Seales
I'm
says.
stealing that.
Um,
Okay.
my words are my power. No, there's an eruption of consciousness that's happening right now, and it's gonna be important that we do our best to guide that and to galvanize that into actual action. And I think that there's folks who aspire to having consciousness and awareness but don't necessarily know the route to get there. And I think there's people who may have thought that they were already there and are finding out like perhaps not. But I will never take away from effort and interest because
Yeah.
there's so many folks in this country that just haven't even given a fucking damn about anything other than their white supremacy and their bubble, and not even understanding that only caring about your white bubble is white supremacy. Just a side note, because
Mhm.
there's people that think, well, if I'm not wearing a KKK hood, like I'm clearly not a racist, and it's like if you can, have you heard of living single?
I was on Living Single.
You know,
I
You
was
was
an
on
ex.
there?
Excuse me.
see.
Dana's my sister, so of course I was on a
I
Shout
didn't
dating
know
out to
that
agency.
Queen
mean you
Latifah,
was
who
on Living
always shows me love
Single.
and support. Shout out
That
to Queen Latifah, who always shows me love
The
and support. Shout out
queen.
to Snoop. Snoop jump on my live this morning and show me love. Like the just a side note, like the OGs showing me love and like understanding my
I,
messaging.
I saw Dana post you the other day, and I was like, I love that, because Dana's been through a lot too. People don't
Yep.
remember all the stuff that she's gone through to get to where
Hmm.
she is, and I'm sure at that level she sees it, and I love that she's still grounded in what we're going through. So I
From
love that
Jersey.
she shared that. Yeah,
She's gonna always be grounded. She from Jersey and hip hop. But
right.
just to add to what you were saying about autonomy, my mom always says, "You take their money, you take their shit."
Yeah.
And
I'm still in that too.
But I
and
feel
you
like
got to
that's
know that, and sometimes you got to do that.
Hold
You
on, hold
know?
on,
you said
hold on.
sometimes you got to do that, take the money?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take their money and take their shit. When I was on Sirius Satellite
Okay.
Radio, I wanted to quit every day.
I know that feeling.
And it would be my mom, and it would be Q-Tip, and it would be DJ Self, like having to talk me off the ledge, like because I didn't have another end road. Like this was
Hmm.
all I needed, but I was just like, I hate this. This is the oppression, and and it was so frustrating to me to have to be demeaned in order to just get
Yeah.
enough money to live. And so many people are living in that every single day. And like when you are able to reach a point where you can say, I'm not willing to put up with this because I don't need to, that feels like a whole other level of liberation. And there's people who are like, she must have got fired because they can't even conceptualize saying no to money.
Yeah.
Wait. But that goes back to what you were saying earlier, right? Like, I really feel like because we're so focused on acceptance or filling that open seat, that we don't put that same energy and drive into building our own table with
Absolutely.
chairs. And I feel like sometimes, like, we do more harm than good by taking those open seats instead of just sticking it out. Like, our job, our partnership with iHeart in 52 markets, we're a partner. We don't work for them. They don't own my show. I own it. I own the digital. Like, we have an amazing relationship with them as a partner for the very reason you said, because when you take their money, you have to respond to them and deal with what they want you to do. So
What?
But everybody ain't built like us, fam. Like, that's real. Like, they're not. And so what you do have to do though is, if you're in that space, you got to I be like, listen, you may not be built like me, but you still do have a backbone. Maybe
Mhm.
your backbone ain't made of the same mahogany as mine, but I need you. I need you to reach in there and find the essence, because you're still a descendant.
Mhm.
You're still a descendant. So it's in there.
but I,
And you need to find that and let that be your grounding point in the work that you're doing in that space, and in making it possible for the work we're doing in our own space.
But look at what's happening right now, right? Like, in organizing, they say the way you get people to action, you inform them of the problem, you agitate them, and then you move them to action. There's a lot. Like, I love when I saw them burn down AutoZone in Minnesota. I was like, listen, don't call me about AutoZone, because I don't drive. I don't know nothing about driving, and I don't go to AutoZone. What I know is I'm still angry about the man that died. And so when people were online talking about don't burn, I do believe since then the movement's starting to become hijacked by looters. But don't you feel like, in the absence of like a leader, and I'm not saying we have to have one leader, but in the absence of leadership, and I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about for our people and our movement, don't you feel like right now we're agitated, but now what are we shaping this into? Like, what are we shaping it into that will make the change that makes sense for us? Like, saying fire the DA when you elected her is probably not going to happen too soon. But if you register people to vote and you find somebody within your community that you can get behind, like, what do you feel like is going to bring about the real change right now with what's happening in response to George Floyd?
I think it's really going to be, again, this eruption of consciousness adds a whole new army of minds,
Yeah.
and bodies and perspectives. And I think I've been talking about this a lot, because this is what we're talking about. But it's like, we think so finitely. We think in terms of now, as if we're the end of the conversation. We are a comma in the conversation. Like, this
Yeah.
this is a continual.
I'm still in that.
Get your notepads ready.
Oh, I'm
We
gonna be on, I'm gonna be on Good Day LA tomorrow, and she's gonna hear this shit.
but
No,
I
that makes sense.
we are all of our generations are bridges to a better future. And so that's how we have to look at ourselves. Like, we are somebody else's ancestors. So we can't look at it like, okay, well, if we don't make shit happen at the vision that we want to right now, then it's never going to happen. But we do have to continue to push the needle forward. And I feel like that happens in one, galvanizing this new consciousness into specific direct areas of change, right? So really, really asking people to, like, okay, you're agitated. What are
Yeah.
you agitated about? Is it about prison reform? Is it about the police? Is it about people not voting? Is it about these trifling ass DAs? Are you agitated about racism? Are you agitated about these white people making decisions without caring about you? Okay, so, like, meditate on that. The next step of that is, guess what? There's people who were agitated about this before you. So lucky you, you don't got to start this fight today. You can join people who have
Yeah.
been in this fight. That alleviates a whole wave of confusion and of paralysis by not knowing what to do next. There's people who have been planning on what to do next for quite some time. So it becomes us then doing air traffic control to directing folks to these points of light and to the work that's being done. This is not new. Abolition happened how many years ago? The same people are descendants of those people. So
Mhm.
it's just the comma in the continuance of a fight for change. And that is what is really going to be most important right now, is us realizing, like, I am I'm just further I'm pushing the stream forward. I'm pushing the stream forward. And you, as someone in media, it's asking yourself, like, okay, so how is this media space pushing things forward? How
Yeah.
can I be a part of galvanizing these forces? You know, I can't. I'm talking till I'm blue in the face about the fact that we've got these black media spaces, who I personally believe, and I don't know if they've had these conversations in private, but by their content, I don't necessarily feel like they're really rooted in how can we be a force for black change.
Well,
And
we've tried to have the conversation. The problem is that there's too many people looking at their own interests and not the collective, and so it's
Yeah, let's
yes,
talk about social cohesiveness. Like, I feel like that's what we need as a black community.
yes.
What can we do? We can start the conversation here because we have our own platforms, we have our voices. What are some ideas we can come together to have some more social cohesiveness within the black community? Because I feel like that's what's holding us back from getting where we need to get at this current point.
I strongly believe that until we really deal with our trauma and mental health, we will not be able to have that, because it is the
Wow.
trauma and the narcissistic traumas that we're experiencing that create narcissistic behaviors, that enforce ego, that prevent us from being able to look at somebody else and see ourselves in them without feeling like
Mm,
we can protect ourselves from them.
I
that's right on.
100%
That's
agree.
right
Now let me
on.
ask you, what did you think about? No, 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 it's
Well,
real. Listen, I have called the owners of every platform that you can think of that is like us. And I've had one-on-one conversations. And it's either I don't like that bitch, so I won't support, or it's
mm,
that person lied to this advertiser or this person or whatever. And I'm just like, I love all of you so much. Let's all work together. And you do get to a point where you're like, you know what? I gotta focus on
But
what
I'm
I'm
going to
doing.
ask you to
Cause
make
you
them
know what I
calls
mean?
again, because
yeah.
everybody, because the
Oh,
truth of the matter is, if you're going to be who you are, you're going to know that you're going to end up having to repeat these change movements over and over again, because everybody shows up to consciousness different at different times. And it's frustrating, trust me, I know, because you're like, I can't keep using my energy trying to elevate these people. I led them to the water, why won't they drink? But that is also part of the work of us, man. Like, as a people, like, people will be like, yo, like, Amanda's always talking about black folks, even though black folks be shitting on her. And it's like, yeah, because y'all are still my people. And because I really know that, like, a lot of the folks that be shitting on me are doing so because of the brainwashing that's happened. And people are probably listening right now, like, who the fuck she thinks she is to say I'm brainwashed? Well, honey, you probably are. I've been brainwashed and had to work my way out of it and continue to do so. So I hope that I hope that you'll be willing to do that, only because
Other cultures do it. I
other
mean,
cultures do it.
you
And
know,
we,
watch the Jews do it. You know, they don't necessarily always like each other, but when they're working together for a bigger plan, and I feel like we're at that point where it's like, okay, I might not like this thing you do here, this thing you do here, but we both have the objective to elevate our people, and that's what we have to think about first. We have to put all our minuscule problems aside, all of our personal desires, because this is bigger than us right now. Like you said, we're creating that new comma in the journey, and I want our comma to move a little farther.
I think a lot of folks are, I think that, one of the things, like, about talking about, like, what do we need to do to come together, it's like, these conversations are super valuable, and there's a lot of people having these types of conversations because they help to recenter what our goals are. I think a
Or
lot of people
why?
have different versions of what liberation means. They have different versions of what overcoming means. There's people who literally think, like, freedom is having the opportunity to oppress at the way the white man does. Like, that's what
Mm.
they think freedom is. Whenever I see people say, like, what about Harvey Weinstein? I translate that to that. Like, I get it. You think that that person should also, I get it that you feel like this person should 1000% be prosecuted, and thank goodness they were. But a lot of that, I think, comes from this idea that, like, how come the white man could get away with it, but we can't?
But I also asked the question, and I've said this. I've been very critical of Kevin Hart here and other people, but I'll just use like what's happening right now. I see all the leaders on the streets with Black Lives Matter and different organizations that are doing a great job of organizing the people, highlighting opinion pieces or interviews that they're taking with Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. But we're posting every 15 minutes of every day, and there's not even the outreach from them to their own outlets, right? And so
Wow.
it's both ways. It has to be like a symbiotic relationship where, yeah, Variety says you're doing a great job fighting for your people. You should find a way to embrace the work that's being done by those outlets that you ask for support. Because I think many
Well, a
times,
lot of us also have white publicists who don't even know.
oh, that's a whole other a pandemic that's out there. But I absolutely agree. Like I feel like brands can't just show up when they want to make it look like they care during crisis, and people who need black media can't always take us for
You
granted.
got to hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
But I think we take for granted how powerful black media is, and that, we're in a time where we don't really own a lot of our community, but we are owning the media space. And I feel like it would be great to be more cohesive, and for people that are on those platforms to support black media more, because more than ever, we need
You want to know
everybody's
why people
voices
don't
heard.
be supporting black media?
Why?
Because a lot of times black media be really just trying to create conflict. That's what it be feeling like. And a lot,
Mm.
and I'll keep it a buck. Black media has had a lot of not fucking with me that I've had to really stomach, and that has really hurt me deeply. Like just this there oftentimes feels like there's more energy being put to like uncovering a hidden conflict or inciting some type of narrative, and less energy put to like, well, let me do some research, or let me even get a quote, let me actually like do a deeper dive into like the full story of this, versus just putting up a headline. And so a lot of folks feel like they can't trust black media. And I know that that may sound crazy, but it's one thing for white media to play you. It's a whole different thing when your people play you. Like it really feels different.
Yeah, and I get it. Like I understand. Like we don't go on the hunt for stuff, but like Doja Cat's probably sitting at home dressed like a cow, feeling this way right now, right? But like your own words did it to yourself. Like, girl, I was just here eating a
No, I fuck with
taco.
y'all.
You know what I mean?
I fuck with y'all. And you know what? It's the audience reflects it. Your
Right.
audience don't be coming for me the same way that other audiences do, because y'all don't present me in the same way that
Well,
other.
I get you. I mean, I get you. I get you. I don't know why you got kicked out that Oscar party because I know Vanessa though. I do want to know what happened with that, and if we fix that. Okay, next question. All right, so let me ask you this. I live for you, Amanda. All right, next question. What are your takes on Blackout Tuesday?
Blackout Tuesday was confusing. I think
I
again, it
agree.
probably had the best of intentions, but I was doing a forum for my podcast earlier, and someone was asking me like, what can we do to help better like create points of clarity for like things like that, right? Because it was like it came into the mix, and then it felt like it got disseminated in a different way than we thought, and like different people had different understandings of it. And I was talking about like, this is when we need black media to come together, because what should have happened in a perfect, not even a perfect world, but in an ideal situation, uh, is that there would have been a very clear presentation of what it was and what the outcome is hoped to be. And that would have been disseminated uniformly across black media.
Like the messaging was off, and it happened on a day where there was election in 9 states.
Well, so there's that, right? Because I think that whoever came up with it, the fact of the matter is, I don't know who came up with this.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
it started last week. They were talking about all the DJs and everybody in the music industry was going to take a pause. So I
Okay.
know it was starting there, and then I feel like the day before it happened, it took a whole new turn. I'm like, so we're not just streaming no more. Now we're
And,
not
and, and I think,
posting. We're
and
And
not.
what was the purpose of the pause?
listen, today I woke up. This is how stupid I am.
I meant that in a real way. Like, what would like
Yeah,
what?
I think the purpose of the pause was to show blacks' influence on entertainment, and to take a pause so they could take a hit, just to show our power, our strength. But
I need to do
once
some.
again, the
I,
Monday before
Just got
this
to look at their
Tuesday
bank
happened.
accounts. That's all. All
well,
these people need to do is look at their bank accounts, know our power and our strength.
Well, I think it was opportunistic, and I thought it was, these black people who work at these labels had all this time to fight for equality. We go black on a day of elections, and then the next day they circulate a list of all the labels that haven't even spoken about the issue and haven't even donated money. The shit's all backwards, and that's why I say I think like right now there's a lack of leadership, and I feel conflicted because I participated because I saw the dumb shit as part of solidarity, and then after I did the research, I was like. I'm gonna still talk, but
But
we
that's
still
fair. But that's fair.
yeah.
But you know what? You know what, Jason? Like, we got to give some grace to ourselves. We're in a change. We are moving to a new space, which is gonna, that eruption of consciousness doesn't
You
just
took you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to use those words right now.
Eruption.
That lip gloss. That eruption of consciousness is not just in those who didn't know about racism or those who didn't realize how much these police was acting up. Even you and I, right? Like we're having an eruption of consciousness because all this is happening. This energy is going to affect everybody, right? So like you even saying like, damn, like I felt corny, like because I was about to go along with it for solidarity, and then I had to check the shit. It's like that is you being conscious of like, you know what?
Oh no, I felt corny. I did go along. The next day I woke up. So my eruption of consciousness came a day
That's
later.
fine, but you got here. And
Yeah.
so the thing is that we're
The
getting somewhere.
learning.
We're making advancements in our awareness. That ain't never gonna happen to you again. I promise you.
I
No.
don't
You're
think it's going to happen to all of us again because the big misconception and the confusion, I think everybody woke up. It was changes going on throughout the day, change the hashtag and all this. I didn't like it overall, but I did like the communication amongst our people
yes.
to
Thank you.
make some kind of changes to it. I was
Yes.
like, this is the first time we were able to, people was DMing me, no, change this, change that. And I'm like on it, like, no, I'm going to change it right now. So it's like, it was a good thing in this.
They're thinking. We're engaging brains.
And
You know how
honestly,
hard this country
Jason,
has worked to keep black people dumb?
I
Not only
think
black people, this country has worked overtime to keep everybody dumb. Nobody knows how this fucking system works. So how can they change it? Nobody. So the white people who are not evil, they're like, well, it's not really affecting me, so I'm gonna just keep going how I'm going because somebody
Mhm.
else up there is making decisions that keep benefiting me. So fuck it. Then the other
Yeah.
people who are like, damn, I really need to make change. They're like, okay, so all right, so I gotta vote for a DA. Okay, wait. There's also council meetings and council members. I gotta vote for them too. Okay, all right, wait. Then did they just build a prison by my crib? You know, like it's so much to keep up with that if you are trying to live a life and make a paycheck, it's a whole other job to keep up with the amount of systems that are at work
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
to keep you down. It's a whole other job. And right now, what's happening is we need to identify when you talk about leaders, we have to identify the people who have made it their job to learn those systems
Yeah.
so
And
that they
and,
can
be,
And
and
support them.
and become educated and know, like, if you're talking about canceling Facebook on Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram. Figure out how to use Facebook to work for you. I just can't, like, we need
I
more
know.
we need, okay, let me put a comma in this conversation by saying we need an eruption of consciousness now.
But you know what? Like I literally, when I was on the reel, would have people be like, she just thinks she's so smart, you know, or like, who does she think she is with these big words? And it was like, yo, y'all really mad because I'm smart? What the fuck? Stop. Like, when did that become? And it's like, you know, that's a thing because that's what they want you to be. They want you to be dumb and they want you to feel like anybody who is not thinks they're better than you. And that is not the
That's
case.
the division they created amongst us.
One day I flipped to channel 11 and you had your hair blown out. It looked almost like an afro. I said, I had to
Almost.
turn. No,
It
no,
was.
I know. I had to turn the channel because I did not want to see the discomfort of the people in your audience and your table. Because as much as they're your friends, I'm just telling you,
No,
you're
they definitely were like, there was a
uh-uh.
moment, there was a moment, and then Tams was like, I just want you to know, you look stunning. Like stunning. And you know, I think it's like that afro for folks, like anybody who knows me knows that I don't do gimmicks. Like I don't do fake shit or whatever. You know, like that afro served two purposes. One, I was tired of putting all this bullshit ass product in my hair to do the version of glam that TV is expected to see every time. And two, it was like, you know what? Like I had just when I came out in that afro, I had just gone through a nervous breakdown. And I had to really like I had to call my mama and have my mom fly across the nation from Florida to LA, like within less than 24 hours to be by my side. I had to, you know, call my therapist. I had to really, in that moment of crisis, face what had become like a year and a half buildup of just not really being able to manage the elevation I had made in this business and the level of misunderstanding of my spirit that I was like dealing with on a regular basis. And And so I then was like, fuck it, I just need to like deal with me. I was in therapy, I'm boxing, I was going to Reiki, I'm doing affirmations. Like it just became like, if you don't wrangle yourself from the claws of this shit ass system that somehow made you forget who the fuck you are, like you're gonna get eaten alive. And so many of our peers and so many of our stars that and celebrities that we see in these spaces, like they're going through that right now. And when I wore that afro, that was me just being like, you know what? Like, I'm not, I can't, I gotta like live me like to the full extent with no apologies right now. Sometimes, you're in spaces where you may need to temper your energy. But at that time, it was like, if I have to temper this at all, like, I'm gonna go backwards into that space and I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people are afraid? Do you think people misunderstand who you are because they can't handle what you say and what you represent?
Yes.
I can see that. So okay, well, shit. Let's lighten this up a little bit. By the
Nobody wants
way,
to have a
I was
breakdown.
thinking of Angela.
nobody,
No, no,
nobody
no,
likes an
no. By the way,
MVD.
I was no, 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 no. Because I've been there too. Like I
Haven't
get
we
it,
all?
right? And I just was thinking about the Afro because I just saw these old clips of Angela Davis on circulating online, and I'm just like, the words of back then are just so more true now. Like making the comma in the conversation and like understand because I've been too like perplexed with all the amount of activity of what's happening in all the different groups, right? Like there's the opportunists, but then there's the people that are just realizing there's been a problem. And then there's the people that are like, there's been a problem where you've been like, I get it. And I think articulating that way is going to be helpful for the audience too, because it's a very interesting time to say the least. All right. So Insecure. We watch the show. Damage watches it more than I do. Melissa watches it more than we all do. How did that come about? In you guys are going into your fifth season now?
Yeah.
Just wrapped your fourth season.
It's like that's the one I be texting Issa like, how are we in our third season? How are we in our fourth season? How are we in our fifth season? Like, because it always feels like, how did we get here? How did we? Like,
I mean, Issa's done a phenomenal job. All of you have of building an audience that's loyal as hell. I mean, like the audience loves
they
the
had no
show.
choice.
and it
they
and it
had
just
no choice.
creates such dynamic conversations after the show. Like everybody's texting about it, calling each other about it, FaceTime about it, having discussions, arguments. I had a friend said over the first season, her and her boyfriend almost broke up just on the conversation of what's going on between Lawrence and Issa's character. Like
Because
that's
it
how
brings
crazy
out
the
your
show gets.
values. I think HBO has done just a great job of working with Issa to center this show in its own unique space. And that's what's really allowed it to like get that audience. And, Prentice and Issa and Melina, like they really were very, very thoughtful and Larry Wilmore in what they created. And I think so many Black folks, like we just want things that are refined. And refined doesn't mean that it's not ratchet. Refined doesn't mean that it's not, violent. Refined just means that people thought all the way through when they created it. And so much of the stuff that we get that isn't made by Black people is not refined. Like it isn't thought all the way through because they didn't even have the ability to do so because their experience is not that. So, I started on Insecure 2016, April 2016, is when I got the call while I was driving down the 101. And I've said this story many times, but I went in to audition for Natasha for the banker. I went in for the banker, and when I was sitting in the waiting room, I was like, "Well, I'm not going to get this part because I don't have titties." So, like, I do, like, and they're nice, they're nice, but they're not like features,
I know nothing about judging good or bad when it comes to a woman's breast. So
fair. But
you got
I,
them.
my titties are like an what my titties are? My titties are a award, like a critically acclaimed short film.
Hey,
It's not a commercial. It's got some gusto to it. It's not a trailer, but it's a critically acclaimed short film. However, like when I was in the waiting room, I was like, oh, these are film anthologies. This is The Godfather. Like these are 3-part stories. Because the bodies in there was banging. They was giving you bow, bow, bow. And I being a producer and casting person in my own right, am very good at knowing when a part is not for me.
Mm.
And I oftentimes, when I read certain roles that I'm auditioning for, I will forward them to fellow Blackstresses that I feel like it would be better for. Um, like Girl Trip, I auditioned for Girl Trip. I was one of the last women in the running for Tiffany's role, and I was like, I'm just here to meet
Oh,
y'all because I know this is Tiffany's role. Like, I'm just here to meet you. Malcolm
I,
gave
di-
me.
I didn't. I didn't even know you and Tiffany went back. She told me you guys have known each other for a long time.
that's
Like,
crazy.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the real one right there. She's the black unicorn, and I'm the blonde unicorn. Um, but yeah, like sometimes you go into auditions just because you've never met that casting director before, or you've never met that director before, and you just you want to be able to meet them. So I went in there like with full understanding. I was like, this is Tiffany's part. So I'm just going to be reading this so you can get an idea of my talent. But shout to Tiff, And so um, I ended up going into the casting director, and I read for the banker, and I was like, Vicky Thomas is the casting director. I love Vicky. I was like, Vicky, can I? I'm not going to get this part. Is there something else I can read for that I got a better chance of getting? And I just want to tell everybody out there who is an actor, who is an actress, who is non-binary and just be acting, like, don't be afraid to challenge these casting directors to help you understand what they're looking for, to help them help you understand like what the role is. Don't be afraid to ask them like, are there other roles you think I would be better for? Because a lot of times they don't know, and they don't know what your skill set is, and they're dealing
Yeah.
with all type of stuff. So sometimes you literally just everybody's in their own movie, and sometimes you just have to be like, hey, and take them out of that moment, and you'll see that you'll get results. The first callback I ever got was because I went in for a role, and the casting director was like, you played this differently than the breakdown. And I had to jostle with myself real quick, like, am I gonna keep it 100 right now? Today is the day of the revolution. I think today is the revolution. Yeah, because it's racist. And
No, no, no. It wasn't the revolution. It was an eruption of consciousness.
but he was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. See, Trisha? See? And Trisha, the assistant, was like, he did say it. He said it was
Trisha.
he said it was racist. Her name changes every time I tell this story. But
Karen.
she was not a Karen. She was not. She was a Hannah. He did say it was racist.
Hey.
He did. And they were like, get her a call back right now. But what I was gonna say was Vicky was like, yeah, we do have a part. It's Ivy League, early 30s graduate. And I was like, oh, you mean me? Like my
Mm.
actual life? And I read for Tiffany, and I don't, character descriptions change and morph, but like that's where they were at that time. And, I auditioned, and then there was 4 auditions, and they were taxing. Because if you know the people auditioning you, it's more stressful than when you don't. So like Issa's in there like, because she can't, and then Prentice, I always tell Prentice would be in the audition like this.
See, and I will tell you that's why I will never audition. I did one audition and I thought I did well, and then when I walked out of there, I was like, fuck this. It's too much stress. Like I don't.
I don't
It's
blame you.
nerve-wracking.
I don't blame you. Listen, I'm very happy to be at a point in my career where, for the most part, I am offer only. People don't understand that I did not audition for the real. They literally were like, "Hey, do you want to do this?"
Mhm.
I never auditioned for that show. The same way that I didn't get fired. Like, and while we're teaching, a lot of people don't know how TV works and how contracts work. And I want to talk about this because I know a lot of your viewers are people who want to be in the business. And,
Yeah.
and I'm, people make mistakes and go through things so that we can share that information to keep people from making those same mistakes. And I have a contract that is set up in 2 parts. I joined a show in the middle of a season. So we have to carry out the rest of the season. Then you start a new full season. You're not going to get paid the same for those 2 pieces because one of them didn't have a budget for you, and the other one they're going to create a new budget for. So in order to do that properly, they have to break it up. And there's going to be a end of season, and then an option, and then the beginning of your contract as it's fully realized. So what happens is there's a point where that option hits the wall for renewal. So for the most part, you're crossing your fingers that when we hit that option renewal, they're going to renew your contract, right? So that's like most people are just like, okay, my option, today is the day that my option is up. Are they going to fulfill the option or are they going to cancel it? I don't know. But in some cases, you may not want to have that option carry through. And sometimes you don't have you don't have the option of challenging the option sometimes because you've made a contractual agreement that if they pick up your option, you're going to go along.
You got to do it.
But sometimes there are miracles. And in some cases, a network will ask you, can we get an extension on picking up your option?
Mm.
I've
And
had that, and I've had to say fuck no, because that first option was an option that worked for
there
you
you
and didn't
go.
work for me.
And that's when
Hello.
the leverage shifts. And for a lot of us, we don't know about how to do that. We don't know about when that happens, what we can do. And a lot of us, for what it's worth, are in places where we do need to. We're like,
We
no,
need
please
it.
extend
No,
it.
we
Right?
need
We're
it.
like, no, please extend it. Please, like me. Here, I'm being graceful. I'm being gracious. I'm benevolent. Please, yes, extend it. Take your time. Let me know. I'll be here. We've been in those spaces. This was not one of those spaces. This was a space where they asked for an extension and I didn't feel like this was the best place for me to continue.
Yeah.
And had there been a different conversation, there would have been different conversations, but the conversation that was had was, we would like the option to extend our option, and that gave me the option to make a better option, which was,
Well, I think they were probably relying on you to just stay.
well, I think, for what it's worth, like, this business often feels like people need it.
Hmm.
So did you give him like a
Every
small?
business.
Did you give him a small dose of reality?
We're doing that right now.
No, I mean shout out to your book. It was small doses.
Oh, small
That was a.
business. Um, you know, I just didn't want to be in a place where I and my co-host were being muted for the preservation of profit.
Mm. Mm. And how crazy is this now, right? I'm not even turning to the real because the real is sitting right outside my house with the military.
It's going down.
And here's where people need to be like very okay with letting go of things that don't work for them, because you can't be frustrated that people don't see it when you see it, because they will see it later. And right now is the time to be having real conversations about race, because guess what? That's all people are talking about. If I post a Fashion Nova post right now, they will burn me down. They're like, don't talk to me about buying no damn skirt when people are getting shot in the face with
Yeah, it's
pellets or
real,
whatever.
real shit going on
Well,
right
That
now.
so I launched my app, SFB Society, and I was legit like, should you launch this right now? Like, there's so much going on. And I really had a crisis of conscience with that. And I, I'm a very like aware person of like, cause a lot of people feel like you become a celebrity and you were never a fan. Like, I've been a fan way longer than I was a celebrity. Like, even though I've been on TV since I was 12, like, I wasn't popping like that. Like, I was still a consumer. I'm still a consumer. Like, you think I wasn't hyped that Snoop came on my live? Fuck out of here. I'm always
not
like,
not not gin and juice.
Janet, not we. What am I saying?
Murder was the case that they gave him, but he beat it.
But he beat it, and we ain't leaving till 6 in the morning. Like, I got chicks in the living room getting it on, and they're not leaving till 6 in the morning. I mean, like, so you have been in that space. Like, it's not like you just showed up to celebrity. Like,
Mhm.
I wasn't, North Kardashian or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't show up here there. So the I still come from a place of that. And I feel like so many folks don't want you to be that.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you're over there now. You can't be a part of speaking with us. You're not in. And I'm like, no, I'm still the peanut gallery. I'm still over here. I want to be a part of us.
Wait, so what's the app called?
Oh, so I created SFB Society, and because I am still a part of that consciousness, like, I'm thoughtful about, like, okay, I don't want to do anything that if I, that's going to make people feel like I would feel, if somebody posts some fuck shit right now.
Mhm.
And and I had a lot of encouragement from folks who were just like, well, your app, SFB Society, is about creating a safe space for Black folks to be their whole Black selves, and it's membership only so that we can
Mhm.
keep trolls and hoteps and Karens out, so that we can actually have real conversations without having
Yeah.
to be distracted by folks who are detracting from actual high vibration and actual, excellence. So, the whole premise is vibes, jokes, facts. So we want to talk about wellness. We're talking about, information, but we're doing it through a humorous lens. And I really was like worried about putting this out for the same reason, Jason, that you said that like you ain't trying to post a Fashion Nova. But
But
I'm really appreciative to have like a crew of folks around me that are not sycophants, right? Because I know they would keep it a buck and be like, nah. But they were able to brainstorm with me about the best way to continue to move forward as a Black woman and entrepreneur, even in these times.
you
But
have to.
but to also be responsible and aware about these times.
But
Yeah.
I
So
think we
one,
need a. But I think we need a Tuesday where we're supporting Black businesses, regardless of what it is. If it's
that's what
Black
I thought
owned,
Blackout Tuesday was, by the way.
and I think that's what we need to have. Like, I don't feel like it should be. I don't feel like any Black business owner should feel weird about promoting Black business right now. It should be a surge of it, and that's where it gets weird. With like, I don't want to promote and look like I'm trying to make profit, but we need profit to fund our community. We need to build our own economy. That's what we need.
Even
Well,
just
and
like Black people supporting Black folks, it's like it's almost this thought process that says like I shouldn't have to put money in to support what you're doing because you should be doing it for free because it's for us. And it's like, you do understand that part of us is about us having our own economy.
We
And
need
so
it
we need to do
first.
that. We need to be able to like filter money through us. And when we only feel comfortable spending money on outside stuff, it's like, that's a very distorted view. We did Smart Funny in Black, which is my live show. We did it. We did a virtual version. We did SFB. We did Smart Funny in Black in the crib. We did it on June. We did it on May 15th, and the next one is on Juneteenth, on June 19th. We sold tickets. We sold 2,800 tickets at
nice.
various levels: $5, $10, $35, and $50. We sold five. We sold $1,005 tickets the first day, and then we kept those other tickets open. And we had to open up our tickets because we had sold out, and people were like, "But we still want to come. We still want to watch." And there were people that were like, how's she gonna charge people to see this? Like, how's she
They
gonna charge
always say
for a
that.
show? And people were like, and this is why I love people though who get it. They're like, this is her job. Like, she can't get unemployment. Like, this is her actual job. Like, she doesn't have an OnlyFans. This is her job.
Now Amanda, you could do a woke
I know.
OnlyFans now.
A woke
I was thinking
OnlyFans.
about doing an OnlyFans where like I'm naked, but like I'm covered with like excerpts from James Baldwin books.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Be creative.
Yeah, I
Yes.
learned from that. I'll tell you that. Now I
Then
do
Amanda.
want. Wait.
I'll learn from that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll read that book. I do want to get your opinions on the riots and the looting. From your perspective and your lens, how are you digesting that what's going on outside every day? I just drove down Melrose. All the businesses are boarded up. There's military on every corner with guns. It just seems very surreal. I just want to get your opinion on it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not in LA right now, and I need to get back because I do feel like I need to see this with my own eyes. And I've been out here. My mom had surgery, and she's fine. But the quarantine. I didn't want to quarantine in LA, and then this popped off, and I was still here. And I'm coming back, and I'm worried. I'm not gonna lie to you because I don't know what to expect. But I think the biggest thing is just realizing that in every other time that we were protesting Supreme Court decisions. We were protesting, we were protesting like a police officer. We were protesting, the president. We've protested a lot of things, but we ain't never really protested the police in general.
A
So
system. The
the
system of racist police. Yeah.
So they're taking it very personal, as they should. And I think that's something that we need to consider. Like, they're operating this way because we are coming for them. So you can't bring a pen to a gunfight. Like, before, they were there to keep the order. Nah, they looking at it like we here to defend ourselves and our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if we try and consider from a place of compassion, it's like, even though it's fuck the police all day, if someone has decided to put themselves in a position of purpose and power, and you come to tell them, fuck your purpose, fuck your power, how you think they gonna respond, right?
Which is why I act the way I act when they come for Hollywood Unlocked. Boom, got it.
So
Do you feel like
and ditto, right? Because my thing
Right.
is like, well, people will come for me, and I'm like, you can come for my opinions, that's fine, but when you come for my character, like, get out of
Hmm.
here. And it's
Hmm.
so, and just a side note, so many folks try to come from my character because they can't come from my points of view. Like,
Hmm.
they'll really just try to come from my, oh, she's a narcissist. You don't even know what a fucking narcissist
I've seen those comments where they're like, "Fuck her," but she told the truth. Like,
is.
do
Like,
you
just say you mad, I'm cute, and keep it moving. Um,
but do
but
you feel
when
like the looting is
But I was about to get to that. Like, the
yeah,
looting is a. I mean, listen, it's par for the course. It's par for the course. Like, this is not any different than any revolution we have ever seen. Which
yeah.
I thought it was going to be, And like, I've seen a lot of store owners who are like, well, this is just kind of the L we had to take, because. And I know there's somebody right now who's like, well, that's easy for her to say because she doesn't have a store. You are correct. Um, but
Yeah,
I
I will say
also,
it hits different when I have friends that I see on Instagram and their stores are completely looted, everything broken. It did hit different. And I feel like I'm 50-50 on the looting because I feel like at the end of the day, every civil war I have seen around the world, the streets look like that. People are uprising, they're tearing shit down. But at the same time, it does hit different when I know I have friends that have black owned businesses and our
well,
own
it's
people are
fucked up.
going in there.
but here's
The
where I'm
war.
not here's where I'm not 50-50, right? In
Okay.
a war, there's always casualties, right? And
Yeah.
property can be replaced. All these businesses who were shut down for 3 months because of the pandemic that was basically caused by the lack of leadership in this country, being mean the spread of it, you got a blessing because you can file a claim now. So all your losses really are a gain because your business has been closed for 3 months. I'm not personally feeling sorry for people. I do feel bad that the message of the Black Lives Matter and what's happening around George Floyd and the resurgence of energy around fighting the systemic oppression of Black people has been hijacked by looters who are opportunistic. But at the same time, this is what I will try to say, like Keisha Lance Bottoms. I love her. I love what she's doing from afar. I don't know her. I love the optics of everything. And I love the fact that she got celebrities to stand with her and say, we will not have this destruction in Atlanta because Atlanta is all Black and Atlanta don't have those problems. And then God said, you're not going to get involved with what's happening. Then we saw the Black police do that to those college students in
Mm.
Atlanta. Right after she said it. Let me tell you something. I really believe God, the whole universe don't make no mistakes. So everybody could pick a side, but really right now what it is, it's the side that believes that until Black people, and I'll even throw brown people, are not hunted by, killed, or beaten unjustly by police, and that there's real change. Don't talk to me about AutoZone. Don't talk to me
Yeah,
about
but
Target.
yeah. I was talking to my brother about it. It's a reflection of our society. A lot of these looters are poor, and they've been poor their whole damn life. So they see an opportunity to go out and take something. It just still reflects on everything that's going on in general.
But Tiffany said something really interesting last night. She was talking about she just moved all her money out of City National and she moved it into a Black owned bank. And she said, now that property value is going to go down in some of these areas that have been destroyed, we as people of color need to find a
You got
way
to buy
to
it.
come together to buy it
Buy it.
because the
So
National
let me
Guard is
call her.
here to protect the property, not
You
the
talking about
people.
Tiffany Haddish?
Tiffany Haddish,
Oh,
yeah. We were having this whole conversation last night about
We got to buy.
we got to buy the property. We got to own it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, I would say, but I don't feel bad.
I think you summed it up really succinctly when you said like there's going to be casualties, and we would rather the casualties be property than people.
Yeah. Well, this has been an interesting conversations.
Loved it.
I walked away having created so many sound bites. And I would love to stay connected with you. I'm actually putting together a town hall. We interview Maxine Waters tomorrow, but we're putting together this town hall of a lot of people who I feel like are now I don't want to say woke, but know what's happening, didn't just find out what's happening, and can elevate all of this rage into a conversation of like real solutions.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I would love to like have you a part of that. Tiffany, Common, a lot of some other folks. I'm talking to
Oh,
Sean King
couple?
later.
You gonna have a couple on? All right now.
I'm not here to confirm or deny that. That's the tea I can't spill, but I don't know. It just my friends, you know.
Well, I'm just speaking on the Bumble commercial, but carry on.
Isn't that the date that we all feel like we went on together?
Yes.
Okay, so what else is next? Like you literally are Jamaican. Like you literally do everything.
Actually, Grenadian and all West Indians.
Hey,
I mean, in terms of having 20 jobs, like you
I'm saying
do.
that's
all
so
West
good.
Indians are like that. West Indians as a culture,
Oh,
we just
really?
have so many jobs. I know that I know that that's the living. I know that's the In Living Color reference. I have one job, two job, three job, four job. I only have two job. Oh God! But that really is an immigrant way of life. Um, and my mother is from Grenada, and that has been passed down to me, even though I am American born and the descendant of slaves.
Mm.
So let's just, since people love to be like, Amanda has a white parent and Amanda is not from here. And I'm like, my parents are black, both of them. I have a white great grandfather and I have a white great grandmother. And I don't know when that made somebody mixed. We have completely shifted what mixed means. But last I checked, it was when you got one and another who have come together.
But I have an Italian mother. Can we please put an end to dissecting how
No,
black
we
and
can,
proud?
but I also want to be. I want to put an end to being misrepresented in my reality. So
Got it.
that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm
Oh
saying.
no, when I was saying can we put an end, that was not to you. That was to the masses because I always get told you ain't even black Mexican. I'm like Mexican. I'm not even Mexican. I'm black and Italian. What the fuck are you talking about?
I
But
deal with the same
Italian.
thing every day, Jason. I know.
no,
Like
you don't. Your name is
Mexican.
your name is Abdul Muhammad. Nigga, they not ain't no mistake. They know.
What's your middle
Like
name? Because that's the kicker. If it's
my
Lamont,
first name is Abdul Caduce. That's my full first name.
Black and black.
Caduce, Eid
Caduce.
Mubarak. You're giving us where? So are your parents Muslim?
Yeah, I was born in Philly.
There we go. Um, well, Bismillah. Uh, so when you said what's next, um,
And damn, if you were born just a little later, you would have been a really good sign. You would have been a Leo like me.
no, I'm a Cancer, so I could cry at any time. Um,
That kind of threw me off. I don't see you as I did not see you as
really?
a
Oh, I'm
Cancer.
a Cancer to the hilt, to the hilt, with a Virgo
Really?
rising.
Yeah.
So that comes together, and I live a tortured existence because of it. Thank you. Um, yeah, no, Cancers are hypersensitive, but which plays out in a number of ways, and we're very creative and we're loyal to a fault, and we are empathic, and we are psychic, and we are known for being able to really like peep the game. Like we can peep things, and we be in our shells, but when we come out, we're like, oh, oh, no, cut that off. So people are like, Amanda was only at the reel for 5 months. That's like 5 seconds. It's like it only took me 5 seconds to know I needed to go. Like, but I also understand obligations and contractual obligations and such, and so I
Mhm.
stuck it out. And then the Lord blessed me with an opportunity to think and
did you feel like a freed slave, or is that the type of freedom that you felt,
I
or
will
is it
never, I will never make that comparison because
just
that is
asking?
not the same. But will I say that I did I run around my house and
Free at
celebrate
last.
liberation? Did I say free at last? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank God Almighty, free at last. But let me just say this. But that comes from just me having a lot of awakenings, especially during this quarantine, to understanding where I want to go next in my life, and
Yeah.
that is not a space that I feel like serves my purpose on earth in the way that I want to from this point forward. Like I don't I don't want to have Hollywood be the center of my life. I want to build my own businesses. I want to, grow SFB Society. I want to have my own, space of entertainment. I want my Smart Funny and Black entertainment to grow to be able to be off YouTube and be an independent
Hmm.
space of content. I want to, grow my apparel line, Illustrious League, which is going to have apparel and jewelry and bags. Like I want to, put out I'm not gonna tell y'all all my plans, but I've just come to really in this time see the value of my own power as an autonomous person, and also in uprising in particular, we have to center the importance of economic independence.
Hello.
I agree.
Build our economy. It's time.
I agree. Okay, last question.
Property.
Last question. What do you think about the Joe Biden interview at the Breakfast Club and the whole conversation around what Biden had to say?
You know, I just think that it was very telling of his disconnect from the constituency that supported him for so long. And I will always support my brother Charlemagne, because even when he hasn't handled something the way that maybe it could have, that even when there seems like a better way that he could have handled something, he's open to critique. I have no critique on how he handled that situation. Zero. I think that for what it's worth, people still have an inane um, necessity to make white people feel comfortable,
Hmm.
particularly old white people, particularly people that have a quote unquote political position. And I think Charlemagne met him with the same energy he would meet anybody else with, which is why we got to fuck with people who are authentic in all spaces. You know, he really just was like, this is where we're at. He only got 17 minutes. How you only give black press 17 minutes, but you need all the black votes? You only had this many minutes, but you need all the black votes. He hasn't been on
Right.
AM Joy with Joy Reid. Like, you know, there needs to be, there needs to be a respect shown. And to me, it just seems like something you would do just organically. And so his comments on the show, they did frustrate me. It does not change the fact that, oh, really, Us Weekly wants to interview me. Interesting. It doesn't change the fact that we absolutely are going to need to vote for whoever the Democratic option is, because that's the way our party system is set up. But it does mean that, but it also doesn't mean that we can't we can't demand.
Challenge. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could challenge.
we can't. And you know what? It's like, it's not even like challenging. Like, it's simply just
It's challenging. It's not
like,
provoke. It's
there we go.
challenging, not
Yeah,
provoking.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah. There
provoking.
it is. There it is. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. You know, um I just always try and remind people, like, listen, we in the long game. So like there are steps that we'll have to take to create more space for the other steps we have to take. Voting for whoever the Democratic candidate is based on our current party system seems like the most logical choice. And if that's Joe Biden, then that's what we need to do. But at the same time, I need him to do better at representing for the people who are representing for him.
And we have to be involved with the political
Yeah,
process,
way
not just when
earlier.
it's time to vote or elect, right?
But that's what this is. And I think that's what a lot of people are mistaking. Like, this is us being involved in the process, like making these demands and saying, like, this is what we want from you. Like, we're being involved in the process. If we didn't do this and then he came in office and did nothing, people would be like, well, damn, we should have said something. Well, it's being said.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on the show and answering everything, except for that one question. But I just had to throw that in there because they're going to light me up if I don't ask it. And I did get your message on Instagram. We misspelled your name in the hashtag. I didn't do it. My team did it. But thank you for correcting us. So you can always come back here if you need us. And anything we could do to support you, that'd be great. And I'm gonna send you my book, and I'm gonna get your book.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. And I will say, I'm not even shitting you. Like, whenever y'all post me, I'm like thankful, because your comment section really has a different point of view and a different level of respect, and that is because of how you curate what you put out there. And I think not enough sites understand that, and if more did, we would see a shift. So thank you
Yeah,
for being part of that
I
shift.
mean, yeah, of course. I feel like to do anything other than that would be literally the people that we're fighting right now in the streets, right? So, like, and even worse because it'd be us doing it to our own people, you know. But
let's,
yeah, but
let's just end it there. Let's just leave it at that.
yeah, let's just end it at. Let's put a period there, but know that there are more comments to come.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank y'all. Be safe.
Peace. Bye bye. What up, YouTube? Thank you for watching this reckless show.
Yeah, and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.
And also don't forget to share and leave a comment, because we are reading.